And then it hit me. I never attach to the goals when I'm working with horses, so I'm always falling in love with the process. So why was I the opposite in other areas of my life? This realization made me stop and actually reflect on 2025, not just about what happened, about the approach. And like I teach in the Horse Listener, I found a pattern. Okay, it's January. Everyone right now is setting goals, right? New year, new me, all of that. But here's what no one tells you, right? Goal setting only works if you actually know what's working in your life and, most importantly, what is not working. See, most people skip straight to the I want to lose 20 pounds, or I want my horse to be doing Grand Prix, or I want to make more money. But they actually never stop and ask, why didn't last year's goals work? What patterns keep showing up? And what am I actually learning about myself right now? What has this year taught me? I just went through my own envisioning process for 2026, and I'm going to share something that completely changed how I approach everything. Not just my business, not just my riding, the work with horses, but my entire life. And it came through from horses. Of course it did. So let's get into it. Now, let me take you back to 2025. See, on paper, I was doing all the things. I was treating horses. I'd had the opportunities to travel around the world. I had built courses. I had traveled to, if I'm correct, it's 10 countries, 11 countries in only 8 months. I worked and met some amazing clients. But underneath, I had this constant feeling of anxiety, unsettling, and uncertainty, which, because I was ignoring it, kept growing and growing and growing. And about 3/4 to the end of 2025, I felt like a mess. I just couldn't figure out why. So I had my goals, I was thinking I was working towards them, but every time I checked in with my progress, full disclosure, like mean admin is something that I'm always working on to improve. And I felt this constant tightness in my chest, this low grade panic. Am I doing enough? Why isn't it working? Like, what if I fail? I'm getting older, like, I don't live with any regrets, and constant spiral of anxiety and overwhelm. And I thought that the problem was that I wasn't working hard enough, right? I've come from a family generation of work hard to earn money. And then you see all these people like post their lives at like making really good money and working 4 hours a day. And then you just think like, but I'm working like, 20 hours, what's going on? So it wasn't that I needed to work harder, it's that I needed a better system, a better strategy, and to fail quicker with a plan. Think about that. I noticed something. When I was working with horses, I just never felt that anxiety. I didn't even think about it. Because when you're working with a horse, you really have to be there, be present. You're not thinking about the end result. You're thinking about the now. I need to be here for my horse. You're not thinking about, what about the future? Like, what happens? Because the horse, this picks up on this. So you're present. You're focused on the process, the connection you're feeling. It's like an instant feedback with your horse. When I focused on the goal, the revenue number, the subscriber count, the outcome, I became more stuck, anxious, and I feel like I was constantly failing and making no progress. But when I started to focus on my input every single day, just the daily things that I'm doing, the daily practice, my connection with horses, the quality of my work, I felt free again. I felt creative and grounded and more peaceful. And this is this goal attachment versus the process, falling in love, what life, I believe, should be like. So the goal attachment says, I'll only be happy when I hit a certain target. The process, love, says, I'm fulfilled by the everyday work itself. And in that everyday work, guess what? Some days I feel like rubbish. Some days I'm failing. The campaign doesn't work. The weeks that you don't make money, and then you think to yourself, what about my input that I'm putting in? And here's the thing, it isn't about feeling better, it's actually more effective. So when you're attached to the goal, you're constantly checking in, like, am I there yet? Am I there yet? And I don't know about you, I don't then turn up present. I'm distracted because I always feel like I'm behind, and then you feel like you're constantly chasing your tail. But when I'm in love with the process, I'm fully engaged, and I almost become a bit in a hypnotic state, if that's one way to describe it. Like, some people say in flow, everyone has their own description of that, but I feel like I could do this task and time could just go by and I'm fully invested into it. And that's kind of what happens with horses, right? And they taught me this. They've always taught me this, that when you're schooling and you're trying to say, make the outcome happen, make the simple change happen, it actually becomes harder. But when you learn to fall in love with the little conversation, the subtle signs, the communication between you and your horse, that's not verbal, it's felt. You feel the connection. It's like moment to moment feedback. Even in the failure, the transformation really happens. So not because you've stopped caring or you don't want the outcome, but because you've actually stopped trying to control it. So I asked myself, what if I approach 2026 the same way that I approach horses? What if instead of setting goals and attaching my worth to hitting them, what happens if I identified what I love doing and the process I want to fall in love with and just committed to that? That question changed absolutely everything. Here's what happened when I did my reflection properly. When I actually looked at what was working and what wasn't working, okay? The first thing is I released a belief that I didn't even know I was carrying. See, I used to think that loving horses and wanting to share their medicine was somehow childlike. Like I needed to legitimize or upgrade to make it real work, adult work. Like I'm 37 now, I've reached level 37. It's not childlike work anymore. I reflected honestly and I realized I've always been known, and I've felt this with every cell in my body, that horses are like medicine. They're better than medicine because they're so healing and so intentional with their healing. That's never been in the childlike version. That's my truth. I was almost putting my love of horses and talent and passion into a childhood thing, and no one else was doing that but me. This was a huge shift, okay? Now it was all about how to articulate this. So that reframe alone freed up so much more energy that previously I've just been wasting on trying to justify myself. The second thing, I found my word. Now, bear with me, because again, a story that I kept telling myself was, I'm from Africa, I spoke many languages when I was a child, so English nowadays, sometimes I can get words mixed up, all these things we tell ourselves about why we are the way we are. So I found my word, not my goal, and my word, the identity that I'm embodying in 2026, for me, it's relentless. And it's not because I need to hustle harder and work harder and burn myself out, but because the thing that's really holding me back isn't a lack of skill, it's not a lack of knowledge, it's the people pleasing. So softening my message to avoid criticism, stopping when I get negative feedback, but being relentless means I do not stop, I do not soften, I do not hide, I stay true to what I know about horses being medicine. So can you even just feel that shift in what I'm saying? It's so intent because I've recognized my limiting beliefs are not serving me anymore. No matter what goals I keep setting, if I don't address the truth, the elephant in the room, my 2026 will be like my 2025. It won't anymore. The third thing is that everything consolidated. So when I looked at all my goals and all the things I thought I wanted, I realized most of them were just symptoms of one thing: building the horse listener into what it's meant to be. So not as a separate goal, trying to compete for my attention, but as an integrated mission that I genuinely love doing. The content creation, the storytelling, sharing case studies like client work, community building, it's all one big thing, and I love the process of it. So instead of splitting my focus across 10 different countries or different things or different goals, I chose to build a horse listener empire in a way that feels as natural to me as working with horses. And here's what that gave me: clarity, direction, and peace. This constant anxiety bubble that I've been waking up in is slowly going away because I truly believe this now. All this negative, limiting stories of my speech, my words, was just a limiting story that is now getting out of my brain. I'm removing it. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm removing it because it wasn't serving me. So it's not because I lowered my standards or stopped caring about growth, all these things that are associated with goals, but because I actually stopped measuring my worth by whether I had hit these numbers and started measuring it by how I show up for the process that I genuinely love and the impact that I love seeing working with horses, working with female riders. Okay, so here's what I want you to take away from this. Before you start setting any goals for 2026, do this reflection. What actually happened in 2025? Not just what you accomplished, but what you felt like, what drained you, what energized you, what were you in flow with? Like, what kept you hypnotized? Were you forcing anything? You can't set effective goals without really understanding what's working and what's not. So new year, new goals is all meaningless. It's just words if you're just repeating the same pattern that did not serve you. So identifying where your goal attached versus process loving. So let's think about this. All the activities in your life right now, grab a piece of paper, a pen. Which one feels like I'll be happy when? And which one feels like I love doing this regardless of the outcome? I'll give you an example. I love working with horses regardless of the outcome. Like just being in their presence, learning what I can learn about myself with them. I don't care about the outcome. I don't care about whether we had a failure day or a success day. It's really obvious with horses. I'm never thinking, I'm only fulfilled when I get this canter transition. I'm fulfilled by the conversation that I'm having with the horse in the moment. That's falling in love with the messy process. Find that in your life. Find the thing when you're naturally present, naturally engaged, naturally in this, what I call like this hypnotic state. And then ask, how do I approach everything else with the same way or in the same way? Choose your word like I did mine, relentless, not just your goal. Goals are very external, identity is internal. I am relentless with the horse listener. Like I am on a mission. It's my word, I mean it, I feel it, okay? So who do you need to become to create what you want? What quality, if you embodied it every single day, would change everything? That's your one word. That's your filter for every decision. Relentless is mine. What's yours? Consolidate. So if you have 10 different goals competing for your attention, you're splitting your power, you're splitting your focus. Find the one thing that if you completely focused on it, would create like a domino effect across everything else. So for me, building the horse listener isn't separate from my financial goals, my creative goals, or my impact goals. It is all of those things. What's your version of that? The horses have been teaching me this my entire life, and I finally realized it. They don't care about the outcome. They don't care about, all they want from us is presence, connection, the truth in the moment. And when you approach them that way, when you fall in love with the process instead of attaching to the result, that's when the real feeling change happens. I'm very skeptical about using transformation because it's almost like a hype word nowadays. Transform your body, transform your horse. And in some ways, yes, but transformation doesn't happen without pain, hurt, frustration. So when I say that word, I mean get ready for it. Get locked in and get ready for it. That's what I'm taking into 2026. That's why I'm inviting you, not the new year, new you, but I'm inviting you to fall in love with the process. Choose your word. Trust what the horses already know. I'd love to hear from you, so please drop a comment in the area below. Don't forget to give me a follow and subscribe, and I'd love to know what your one word is for 2026.